Hello, very good afternoon my dear students. Welcome back to our news analysis program. Today we shall be analyzing the Hindu dated June 19. A new week begins. Let there be a promise to work really hard. Exams are fast approaching. There is no scope for any kind of laxity. Work hard. Last week a student asked me, and the question was this, whether the daily 4 questions that I upload as a card in the feed would be enough for this examination. I said no, those are only spicing up here and there. I used to give general awareness test, general awareness notes weekly, and that is available in the application, in the notes section as well as in the test section. You may please do. The test is really elaborate. I used to give question, answer choices, answers and their explanations. What you need to do is to attempt the question, then the solutions, go to the solutions, you will get the explanation and answers. So that is an elaborate note that would be enough for your examination. And of course you have to read the newspaper. There is no substitute to to your reading. So I am going to start. The Hindu dated June 19. Supreme Court refuses to intervene in High Court ruling on student activist bail. Twitter grilled by MPs over violation of new IT rules. These two news items occupy the front page of the Hindu. We shall discuss them. Supreme Court refuses to intervene in the High Court ruling on student activist bail. This was discussed in detail in the last class. 3 JNU students had been arrested by the Delhi police under UAPA. UAPA is the new avatar of earlier TADA. There was a rule called TADA. I explained all these things in detail in my last class. TADA was a draconian rule, very tough rule. Many of its points were inconsistent with modern democracy, and TADA was repealed, but the new avatar UAPA is also misused by governments after that. Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Listen, if somebody is arrested under UAPA, then he will not have provision for bail. Number 1. Number 2, it will become his responsibility to prove his innocence, which will be very difficult too. So these are draconian principles, rules included in UAPA, that act, and under this particular act 3 JNU students were arrested. These were used by governments to suppress any kind of protests from time to time. So they were protesting against the Citizenship Amendment Act, and these 3 people were given bail by Delhi High Court last week. The Delhi police moved the Supreme Court against the granting of bail by the Delhi High Court. This was refused by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court did not even listen to the petition. They refused to interfere in the matter. So the 3 students are set free. Twitter grilled by MPs over violation of new IT rules. We know that tussle has been going on between social media platforms and the central government. A new set of IT rules were prescribed in the month of February 25. It was on February 25 that the government came out with new IT rules that would govern intermediary platforms, social media platforms, and 3 months time was given for the IT social media platforms to comply with the new set of rules that fell on May 25, and big companies like Twitter, Facebook and WhatsApp, they failed to comply completely with the new IT rules. So Twitter was summoned, reprimanded by the Parliamentary Committee on Information and Technology. Listen, there are many parliamentary committees attached to different departments and ministries. A Parliamentary Committee on Information and Technology, that is headed by Dr. Shashi Tharoor, they summoned Twitter officials and they asked why didn't they follow the new IT rules. They were given the or they were informed the displeasure of the committee, and on non-compliance of new IT rules, usage of manipulated media tag and fact checking. These are the three major things that the Parliamentary Committee investigated. Committee was unanimous in criticizing Twitter for non-compliance of rules of the country. Once the country has come out with a rule, doesn't matter whether you are an MNC or a global giant, you have to go by the rules of the land. So that's it. Please follow these news items. Cold Peace, the Hindu editorial. This refers to the recent Geneva summit between the United States of America's President Joseph Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin. These leaders have not been in good terms for the past few years. Relations between Russia and America have been at their lowest point. Okay, have been not at their good points, or have been at lowest point recently. Reasons were: one, the allegation that Russia interfered in American elections through sustained online campaigning. That is allegation number one. Launching cyber attacks. These were the charges made by America, and Russia countered by saying critical of America's interventionist foreign policy. America unnecessarily would intervene in international relations. This was a charge by Russia. So the relations between the leaders have been at its at their lowest point recently, but on the lines of the G7 summit recently, Switzerland government facilitated a meeting between the two leaders, and it was the meeting was christened by American President Joseph Biden as the meeting of superpowers. Okay, the two countries had withdrawn their diplomatic representatives. In the month of March, both the countries withdrew their ambassadors from the other country, and that is the worst that can happen diplomatically. In the Geneva summit, they resolved this issue and decided to install their ambassadors back. So it's a hope for both the countries as well as the world. They were Cold War enemies, but they are big influencing powers in the world. Unless peace is established between these two big superpowers, we cannot think about a peaceful world. A village basking in vaccine glory. This was a major center page article of the Hindu dated June 19. A beautiful article about a great success of a Kashmir village, Vuan, that has become the first village in India to vaccinate all its people with at least the first dose against COVID-19. The first village has become a village in Kashmir, and a village where the terrain is very, very tough for frontline health workers to reach out to people. So Vuan in Kashmir has become the first Indian village where all the people are vaccinated. A beautiful article. The article enumerates the challenges that the health workers faced in convincing people that vaccination was necessary and vaccination was not harmful. Panel formed for talks on theatre command. This is going to be a major military news in the days to come. Creation of integrated TriService command is in the offing. Proposals and discussions are going on. A defense command, air defense command, that plans to integrate all air assets of all the Air Force, Army and the Navy, all will be converged to form Air Defense Command. Then Maritime Theatre Command, that will include assets of Navy, Coast Guard as well as coastal formations of Army and Air Force under one umbrella. And Army's Northern and Western Command would be converted into 5 theatre commands. So these are the 2 major Army commands, the Northern and Western Commands of India. So they will be merged. So this is the new TriService Theatre Command creation that the government has proposed. So follow this news. India and 3 EU nations begin naval exercises. Whenever India engages its naval forces with other countries for exercises, you must understand that even during times of peace, the armed forces are undergoing continuous training practice, and they used to engage they try to improve their competence through joint military exercises. Whenever India does such a military exercise, it becomes very important from the perspective of exams too. The maiden India, for the first time, Indian Navy and European Union Naval Force, UNAFOR, exercise began in the Gulf of Aden. What is the Gulf of Aden? The Gulf of Aden is located in the Indian Ocean and is situated between Yemen and Somalia in Africa. Okay, between Yemen, the Gulf, above the Gulf, and south coast of Arabian Peninsula and Somalia in the African. So this is the place where Indian and European Union forces are engaging, Indian Navy and European Union naval forces are engaging in a joint military exercise. Important. Conservative cleric tipped to win Iran's presidential poll. Very important, a new president for Iran. Of course, Ibrahim Raisi has been elected, but this is 19th paper. Conservative cleric, he was the former chief of Iranian judiciary. He is certain to become the president of Iran, and he was the head of Iranian judiciary. The supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, he is the ultimate political authority in the state of Iran, and president is also wielding important powers. He has got influence on industrial policy to foreign policy. So Ayatollah Khamenei is the supreme leader of Iran, and the president is the head of the government. Okay, who is the president? It is Ibrahim Raisi, and he has been elected. In today's news it is there that he is elected, the president. Hong Kong newspaper raises print run 5-fold after arrest. I told you all in detail about Hong Kong. I gave you the brief history of Hong Kong. I think it was in 1842 that Britain was ceded Hong Kong by the Chinese dynasty, and from 1842 up to 1997, except for a small period of 5 years from 1941 to 1945, Hong Kong had been under the control of Great Britain. Under Great Britain's rule, people of Hong Kong enjoyed the fruits of democracy and freedom that democracy offers. On July 1, 1997, Hong Kong was formally handed over to China by the then British government headed by Prime Minister John Major. At that time, there was a promise that China would follow a policy called, a constitutional policy called one country, two systems. What did that mean? It meant Hong Kong will be under Chinese sovereignty, so there will be only one country, but two systems will prevail. We know that China is an authoritarian country where people do not have any kind of freedom, but Hong Kong would continue to enjoy all the freedom that Hong Kong people enjoyed under the British rule. But that promise was continuously broken, and a few years ago China implemented tough Chinese rules through the Hong Kong governor Carrie Lam. People opened up their protests, and they have been protesting for the past 2 years continuously. China is using all its military, police might, state might to undermine the protests by the Hong Kong people. Apple Daily, a major pro-democracy newspaper in Hong Kong, their executives and editors were arrested by the police. The next day, people queued up to buy the newspaper as a protest against police action, and they bought 5 lakh copies, 5 times the normal number of copies that are sold by the newspaper. The name of the newspaper is Apple Daily. You should show interest in all these things. We do not know whether any of these things will come for your exam, but you should read everything. You should increase the canvas of your interests, and that is the most important thing. US to spend 3.2 billion to develop treatments for COVID-19. US government has announced that it would spend 3.2 billion on developing antiviral treatments for COVID and preparing for other pandemic threats. The world is imagining and trying to prepare the future pandemics also. The world knows very well that how this pandemic, COVID-19, demolished the mights of countries and lives of people. Turkey to secure Kabul airport. You know that I told you in my previous classes and episodes the history of Afghanistan. Afghanistan was a Soviet puppet country. So puppet rulers were, Soviet puppets were ruling Afghanistan for many years during the Cold War era. But once the Cold War ended formally in 1991, Afghanistan became a place for the extremist Taliban forces to grow. And I shall tell you, I told you that how America became a party to Afghan interests. On September 11, 2001, Osama bin Laden's Al-Qaeda attacked the twin towers of the World Trade Center, which is the symbol of American business might. All of a sudden, after that, America declared war on terror. For the first time, NATO invoked Article 5. And what does Article 5 say? Article 5 of NATO Pact says that attack on any of the countries will be tantamount to attacking all the countries, and they would retaliate. NATO and American forces tried to locate Osama bin Laden, who was hiding in Afghanistan. America made extensive efforts, and NATO forces made extensive efforts to catch Osama bin Laden, and America made their military stations in Afghanistan, and America was supporting the former Afghan government, and America finally caught Osama bin Laden from a place called Abbottabad near to Islamabad in Pakistan, and once Osama bin Laden was caught, a mission was over for America, and ever since then America have been trying to pull out of Afghanistan. The last American president, Donald Trump, said that America and NATO forces would pull out of Afghanistan by May 2021, and the new government started pulling American forces from Afghanistan, and it was started in the month of May. So what happened? Once American NATO forces started withdrawing from Afghanistan, the Afghan government, which had been getting protection from the NATO American forces, got weakened, and Taliban, which has already been controlling most of rural Afghanistan, became all the more powerful. So now, with the withdrawal of American forces, the major question mark, who will continue to be form the formal government of Afghanistan? The reality is that Taliban is going to control Afghanistan, and they are going to form the government. So who will control and operate the Kabul airport? Turkey has agreed to control and run Kabul airport once NATO and US forces withdraw. I hope you got a good picture of the events. Is it clear to all of you? Hello? Hello? I require a little kind of interaction. Please respond to me. I am looking forward to your comments. Please, have you all understood this? Hello? I require a few interactions. This news analysis is available in the YouTube also. I know that you all know it. Have you got a brief idea of the issue in Afghanistan? Please. Okay, good. Yes, I am getting a few responses. Good to hear that you understood. Good. Thank you. Okay, I am proceeding. Thank you, my dear students, for watching the program. I expect you all am able to invoke your interest in various things. If that is the case, then my efforts I would call as a success. So make sure that all of you read the papers, spend good quality time. Listen, this is the time to improve your language. If you can improve your language, then this bank test or any examination will be a cakewalk for you. So English is the crucial thing. Math, reasoning and all, of course, we all can improve. I have never seen it as a challenge for my students, but the real challenge has always been English and general awareness, and both the things can be improved only if we can if you can read the good newspapers and spend good quality time on that. At 3 o'clock we shall come again with another live program on either QA, math or reasoning. Till then, goodbye. Have a very nice week ahead of you. Bye bye.